Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is a Heel Heat Top 10. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Brie Bella.
Thanks, Nicole. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
And the subject for this Top 10 is the Top 10 Women Wrestlers. And I'll go ahead and let you start off with number 10, Gary.
Number 10 is probably one of the most influential women in professional wrestling. She's been in the business well over 50 years. Mae Young. What can you not say about the lady?
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, even to this day, every time she comes on TV, it's something interesting.
The one thing I love about Mae Young is she's 90 years old and she eats, sleeps, and breathes wrestling.
Yes, and she's an amazing talent from the time when women were just an attraction. She was always a main eventer. Indeed. Our number 9 women's wrestler is Karma/Awesome Kong. Not so much for her Karma run, but as Awesome Kong, she devastated the TNA Knockouts division. She was a killer in Japan. She should have been a lot more in the WWE. Timing played a part into it. She's one of the only women to ever enter the Royal Rumble.
Indeed. And I keep saying the indeeds. Anyways, when she was in TNA, she was an absolute monster. She took the belt away from Gail Kim, which Gail Kim was the first TNA Knockouts champion, and that's saying a lot.
Well, Kong, I mean, to me, I always considered her the woman's equivalent of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And that's how impressive she is and how devastating she was. And hopefully, I mean, she's doing some independent wrestling now. I hope at some point we get to see her back in the WWE, because there is unfinished business there. I'd like to see her
Destroy the Bellas?
I'd like to see her reach the highest point in women's wrestling, or get over in the biggest company.
Now another woman, she's been in business forever. Our number 8, Medusa, or Wonder Blaze, whatever you want to call her, the lady that threw the WWE Women's Championship in a trash can on Nitro.
Yes.
But
she's one of the first shots fired in the Monday Night War.
But the thing is, all that aside, great interview. She was awesome in the ring. Back at a time where there wasn't a lot of technically gifted female wrestlers.
Even all the way back to her AWA days.
Exactly. She was on it. She gets heat when she's a heel like crazy, but when she was a Wonder Blaze in the WWE, fans loved her.
Oh yeah. And that was the thing. She came a little bit before they started calling them divas. She was to me, she was the bridge between the old school women wrestlers and the divas. She's kind of a hybrid between the two. What do you
Oh, she was, man. She was always spot on. And she's a tough woman. I mean, hell, right now she does monster trucks.
Exactly. And her and another lady that's coming later in my list, in our list, actually, I would say were the main attractions for me for the late 80s, early 90s in women's wrestling.
I have to agree.
Speaking of attractions, our number 7 lady is one of the most attractive women in the history of wrestling, and also one of the most controversial, Lita. She was a lady that could go in there, mix it up with the men, threw some of the lucha style into her repertoire, was very innovative for a women's wrestler, doing everything that the Hardys were doing. And then when she turned and joined Edge, she went from one of the most beloved faces to one of the most hated heels.
One thing about her that really helped out Austin and Triple H when they became a 2-man power trip was the chair shots they were delivering. They delivered chair shots to her just like they were to Matt and Jeff. And that's really kind of solidified them as monster heels right there. Something you probably won't see now is when you get hit with a chair.
No, but she was very revolutionary for what she was doing and how she was doing it. Another lady, just like we said a little bit ago with Kong, that would mix it up with the men every now and then. But she came in as S.A. Rios' valet, and sadly S.A. Rios was gone pretty quickly, and Lita had a very successful career.
Now, speaking of successful careers, our number 6, Molly Holly, or Miss Madness if you want to call her that from her WCW days, one of the most technically gifted female wrestlers of all time, in my opinion. She could play the angle with the crowd. She could wrestle like a son of a bitch. I mean, I'm talking, some of the moves she pulled out were better than the guys that were wrestling on the show later.
The thing that I hate so much about Molly Holly's career is she was never booked to be the leader of the women's division, and they always made fun of her looks when she was not a bad looking girl. Remember the joke it was always a joke about her having a big ass?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she didn't. She was a not normal looking girl. She was a very attractive girl.
I tell you what, when she was Miss Madness, she was probably, to me, one of the hottest women in wrestling at that point. I don't know, there's something about the way she was dressed, but then the way she just go in there and kick people's ass.
I think she's, out of everybody on our list, I think she's the most underrated.
Oh, definitely, by far.
Now, our number 5 lady is probably someone that's not underrated at all. She's probably someone that would be expected to be on this list.
Exactly.
And that's Bull Nakano. Mostly a Japanese wrestler, had a few stints in a WCW, and I think she came to WWE when it was WWF a few times as well.
She did. She actually beat Medusa, or London Blaze, for the Women's Championship.
But Bull Nakano was kind of Awesome Kong before Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
She had a very unique look to her, a very crisp in-ring style, more of a strong style. She was almost kind of wrestled like Dr. Death Steve Williams, in my opinion.
My opinion is, I think she reminds me of a Samoa Joe.
Well, yeah, that Japanese strong style.
But I'm just saying, like, I mean, she just come at you so fast.
And vicious.
Exactly, and that's what I liked about her. That spinning back fist that she was just destroying people with was awesome.
Yeah. And she was a precursor to ladies like Kong and the next lady on our list. Number 4, Chyna. Well, you think, didn't you?
I'll take the next one.
Anyway, we had Chyna. Now, after her run at the top, she became a very controversial figure, doing porno, doing drugs, doing reality shows.
Doing X-Pac. Anything that she can put in there.
Which kind of negates some of the stuff she did in her career. But the thing you got to remember with Chyna is there's only one woman that's ever held a men's championship in the WWE, and that's Chyna.
Indeed. And
Chyna was part of the original DX, part of she was a major player in the storylines. I mean, the match she had with Jeff Jarrett where she won the Intercontinental title, I mean, that's revolutionary. She's the first woman to ever get into the Royal Rumble. I mean, she broke a lot of ground for being a women's wrestler.
Definitely did. Now, speaking of a woman that broke a lot of ground, number 3, Sherri Martel. This woman was in the business for over 20 years, and she was always associated with the best when she was a manager. She was a great wrestler when she was in the AWA, but mostly she's always been known to be a manager.
Well, she had some stuff she did in the WWE, most mixed tags, but I do remember her and Alundra Blaze, Medusa, having a few matches in WWE, which harkens back to their days of being in AWA, and that was when I talked about Medusa being the one in the late 80s, early 90s that really set the bar. Sherri Martel was the other one.
I like the way Sherri could get heat. She could get heat out of anywhere, and she could make a star. I mean, she went from being with Ted DiBiase after Savage, and she wanted to be with Shawn. They put her with Shawn Michaels, and she from that point on, Shawn Michaels became a star. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and she was every bit as integral. Well, hard to say.
Indeed.
She was every bit as important to the HBK character as HBK was early on.
Now, the next one we're going to talk about is our number 2, Trish Stratus. This woman became, from a model to a wrestling superstar. And at first, I wasn't impressed with her. I just thought she was just eye candy. And then she's one of those people that just got better in the ring, and she was one of the best technicians of her time.
By the time that Trish Stratus left, she was the best women's wrestler in the business, and was for quite a while. She started off, like you said, as a fitness model that they picked up for her looks, but her dedication and wanting to get better made her so good. I mean, There's only been one time that a women's match main evented Monday Night Raw, and that was Trish Stratus versus Lita.
Indeed. Why do I keep saying that? I don't know. It's like high and tight. Anyways, Trish, she had the ability to be one of the most hated women or the most beloved women. I mean, right before she retired, she was a heel. And she turned face just a little bit before that, and it was just like everybody forgot the heel. You know, that's how good she was.
She gave you Stratusfaction.
Can't get none.
And along with most of the ladies on this list, she wasn't bad to look at either.
Oh, definitely not.
Now, before we get into our number one, we do a thing on our top 10s called the best of the rest. These are the girls that just barely missed our list. Now, for whatever reason, we have 10. We can't put everybody in. But these are girls that deserve some mention. The first one I'm going to go into is a personal favorite of mine, Francine from the original ECW. ECW didn't have too many women's wrestling matches, but whenever she was called upon, Francine did the job and did the job well and sold it well.
Yes, she was always spot on. Speaking of spot on, Gail Kim, probably one of the greatest tacticians of all time. And like I said earlier, she was the one that really helped build Awesome Kong up in my eyes.
I would say, other than Awesome Kong, the best women's wrestler out there today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next one is Miss Jackie, Miss Texas. She went by a couple different gimmicks. A damn fine wrestler. Very good, very, very underrated in my opinion. She's a lady that could do almost anything and wrestle a good match with anybody, but for whatever reason just never got the focal point of the attention.
Miss Undertaker, Michelle McCool. Her faction with Lay Cole was an awesome. It was kind of like a female version of DX to me.
It was a ripoff of the Beautiful People.
Yeah, well, I liked it though. I didn't think it was a ripoff.
But she was a very good in-ring competitor. Now, our next lady is one that maybe a lot of you guys don't know. She's only wrestled really independent, and right now she's a trainer in a NXT, FCW, whatever you want to call it now. Sarah Del Rey. To me, I got to see a lot of her work in Ring of Honor, and she's someone that she's one of them people that it was always like, what could have been? Why isn't she on TNA? Why isn't she in WWE? Why isn't she someone's world champion somewhere?
And that's it. I mean, I've seen a lot of her stuff, watching some of the Ring of Honor work, and she's technically gifted. I honestly think that if they put her on television right now, she could change this division up.
Yeah. Now that's what we have for so far for our top 10 before we get into number one. We're going to give you guys the option. If you like what we have on our list, if you don't like what we have on our list, if you think we put someone up too high, rank someone down too low, if you think we just left someone off altogether, or someone we have doesn't belong in here, let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Facebook, hit us up on our Twitter, put it down where?
Down there.
Down in our comments. And we're going to go into the number one women's wrestler of all time, and I'll let you say, Gary.
The fabulous Moolah.
Out of all the top 10s we've done, I think this is the second most anticlimactic number one ever, behind the one where we did the managers and Heenan won.
Or even some of the, the Ric Flair, or was the best of the 80s or whatever it was, I can't remember.
But she is so far leaps and bounds beyond any other woman that's ever been in the business.
Oh, yes. She revolutionized women's wrestling before almost anybody else on this list. The only person...
She revolutionized wrestling.
Okay, I'll give you that one. She went from being, a slave girl Moolah?
Yeah.
To the fabulous Moolah.
And held the title for 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, the only person that's on this list that's been in the wrestling longer is Mae Young.
It's about the same. Well, Mae, because Moolah's not with us anymore. But Fabulous Moolah has done as much for wrestling as anyone has ever done, especially women's wrestling. She's one of the ladies that showed that women can draw, and they're just not a little joke that you have on your show.
If it wasn't for Moolah, we would never have had a Sherri Martel. We would never had a heel Trish.
Women had a women's
Medusa.
division.
No, I mean, they legitimized it. They'd just be the valets walking down with the coats and bringing it back. And I honestly have to say that I think she'd be disappointed with a lot of what's going on in the business nowadays in the women's divisions in certain companies.
Yeah, it's regressed a bit.
It has. Ever since Trish is gone, it just seems like WWE's gone downhill.
And TNA is very hot and cold with their Knockouts division. But,
True.
I mean, there's no one I think more deserving of the number one spot than Fabulous Moolah. This basically, that's all I gotta say. Is there anything you need to add?
That's it, my friend.
Well, my name is George Coles,
I'm Gary Rhodes.
and it's been a Heel Heat Top 10.